Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Stay Sore Show, and I am very excited to have Mike here. Once again, we did a show a few months ago, and we're having Mike back here. A lot of you loved the conversation we had. Today, the conversation is about inflammation, and I think it's a very delicate but very important topic. Let's just really quick say, why is it so important to talk about inflammation?
Inflammation, it's been demonstrated now that inflammation is probably a major player in 80% or more of disease. Not to mention there's a term, have you heard the term inflammaging? Have you come across this term?
Like aging because of inflammation?
Yes, but that's actually a term now, inflammaging.
I thought it's just like
I didn't make it up. No,
I heard it before, but I didn't know it's a term.
Yeah, and they're talking about, so we've got inflammation and disease, and now we've got inflammation and premature aging. Even things like, breaking down your collagen, so your skin. I mean, it's massive. The role that inflammation plays in, you can say, premature death is profound. Yeah.
Wow. You mentioned skin. If you have a trained eye, you can look at somebody's skin and see, oh, there's some inflammation going on.
Yeah, I don't, but yeah.
So inflammation is super important because it's probably one of the biggest underlying issues to most disease, correct?
Yes, exactly.
And how do you know if you have inflammation?
Well, it's a great question, actually, because I think most people associate inflammation with, aches, pains. I rolled my ankle and now it's swelling up.
Especially in my world, in the physical fitness part of the continuum, health continuum, it's usually my shoulder, my knee, I have inflammation.
And that's a good thing. I mean, our bodies need inflammation. It's part of the immune response.
Yeah.
So that acute response of I rolled my ankle and it swells up, that's your body healing. That's your body doing what it's supposed to do. So that's not the problem. The symptomatic inflammation is not the issue. I mean, you Stay Sore podcast. I mean,
there you go.
If you're not sore, then you're probably not challenging your body. So that's not the bad thing. The bad thing is what we would call silent chronic inflammation. This is inflammation you don't know. There are blood markers. If you got certain blood tests, there are blood markers that'll be able to give us clues.
Like the CRP blood test?
There's something called highly sensitive CRP. That's a great one. There's homocysteine. These are tests when you're going in, maybe for your annual checkup with your doctor, and they're doing some of the cardiovascular type profiles. Ask them for those, because those can be some insights into how inflamed am I? And that's huge, because other than that, you don't know. You're walking around, you could be hyper inflamed. And that, a lifetime of that can lead to some of those diseases. And the disease list is massive.
Starting with huge things like cancer. But also things like anxiety and depression, which people don't link them, or dementia, for example.
I was just going to say cognitive function, memory, certainly heart issues. Osteoporosis, people don't realize that actually is an inflammatory related disease. It's not just that you're not eating enough calcium. It's that the inflammation is causing your body to break down bone faster than it can rebuild it. So if you think of a disease, there are liver problems, there are bowel problems that are all inflammatory related.
Gut health has a big connection to inflammation.
Yep.
So inflammation can be symptomatic, which we talked about. What are some of the symptoms of symptomatic inflammation?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably what we all know about, why you might go grab, an over-the-counter, painkiller. Yeah, something like that. If you've got swelling, redness, aches, pains, those kinds of things, that's that acute response. It's the silent stuff that's the...
But we'll get to the silent stuff because that's the bigger thing. But with the symptomatic stuff, like you said, it's actually a good thing. When, let's say, you get a cold or a flu and you get fever, a lot of people rush into I need to get the fever down.
Right.
Is that a good idea in your opinion?
In my opinion, I'm not a doctor. So
by the way, disclaimer: not nutritionists, not doctors, but both of us have decades of work in the health and me fitness and health, you health and nutrition field. But disclaimer: talk to your doctor. This is just food for thought. Do you need to treat fever?
Personally, I try not to until it's quite elevated. 101, 100, maybe up to, for me, maybe if I started approaching 102, I'd want to back it off.
I understand.
But that 100, 101, that's productive. That's your body kind of, burning things off is the way I think of it.
Thank you for saying that. I have the same mindset where it's your body's response. That's your body's way of killing the bad stuff and healing the good stuff. Until it gets too out of control, it's actually a good thing. Be happy that your body has that immune function of fighting disease.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah.
Okay, so what about the silent stuff? So you said blood work. What else can you do to figure out, and how does that look, that inflammation that you don't know about?
So how does it look? I mean, again, unless you start experiencing symptoms of those larger concerns. For me, what I do is I just know it's there. And I like to think of it as a campfire, so the healthy immune response is that little campfire that you build, you're controlling it, you use it for what you need it for, and then you put it out and you walk away. The out of control is you might build that little campfire and then you run away and it starts burning the forest. So I know that campfire's in me. I know we are surrounded by inflammation.
Like you said, it's kind of your body's response to bad things. It has to happen here and there.
It has to happen. And the problem is today, you mentioned anxiety. Stress is a major elevator. It increases your inflammation. So, that's a major issue. And when you look at our world that we live in now, we are surrounded by toxins, chemicals at all times. If you look at from the time you wake up in the morning to the time you go to bed, all of the toxins that you're surrounded by, your body has to do something about it. Inflammation is elevated. So we know we're surrounded by it. The question is, what do I do about it to try to keep it in check? Because it is silent. Unless you're getting these blood tests all the time, you don't know. So that's where I turn to. For me, again, I brought up stress. If you can control stress, that's massive. But I'm into, dietary type issues. I look at my diet and I say, okay, what am I eating that's pro-inflammatory? Maybe try to reduce that, and I'd be happy to share some of that. And then maybe more importantly, what is anti-inflammatory that I could also eat more of? Because to say that I can never, I know you're probably not a pizza guy, but to say that you can never eat a piece of pizza
again. Here's the problem. I am a pizza guy, and I'm trying to fight that guy.
There you go. All right. So, everything on a pizza is pro-inflammatory.
Definitely.
The wheat, the dairy, the meat, the processed meat, the cheese.
The cheap cheese for the most part.
The cheap cheese. If it's grass-fed, maybe we could talk. But really, it's all pro-inflammatory. To tell somebody, to tell me, and to tell you we can never do that again, or that you're doing it and you're putting poison is insane. But what could we do to offset it? What can we do to start to steer our body towards a more anti-inflammatory lifestyle, so that when we encounter these reasons for inflammation, our body puts the campfire out properly, and we can go about our day instead of this raging forest fire that goes on for 20 years, and then all of a sudden we have some serious problems.
So let's have a systematic approach to our conversation. What are the biggest, in your opinion, what are the biggest things that cause inflammation, and what are the biggest things you can do to counterbalance it, to fight it?
Yep. So from a dietary standpoint, I would say, it's the American diet a lot. So it's wheat, corn, dairy, meats, processed meats, a lot of the animal fats that we get in those. I said corn, yeah? Okay. So I'm sure I'm missing sugar. Sugar's massive.
The biggest one.
Your favorite is sugar,
right? Let me share a story with you. In my gym, every time a client comes in and I don't know, I don't feel it today, Before the workout, I'm feeling achy today. And then, what did you eat yesterday night?
Yeah.
Well, I had and turns out it's either something like pizza or burger with fries, something highly processed, or the biggest one, lots of sugar.
Yep.
And then everything is achy in the morning. So big thing.
Have you ever, if you talked a little bit of a tangent here, but if you've ever talked to somebody who's done a low carb diet for a bit, and then they go back and they start, they crash or they eat too many carbs, they say the next day they feel terrible, right?
No energy and achy like crazy.
Yep. And
you would think sugar gives you energy, but that's not how it works. You spike it and then everything crushes.
And in the meantime, now inflammation. So people will say, man, I didn't realize my joints are killing me.
Yeah.
And that's somebody that was living more of a controlled lifestyle, maybe ate a little bit too much sugar, and now they're feeling that inflammatory response.
Definitely.
So those are the things that really can be a problem. Now, one caveat, I kind of alluded to it a second ago. If you can do grass-fed animal proteins and fats and things like that, butter, you're better off.
So the key word here would be more processed versus less processed.
Well, you want to avoid the more processed.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yes, absolutely.
So some foods, when they're too processed, even though they sound good, or they could be potentially, hey, it's high protein. But if it's too processed, too chemically processed, maybe.
They say if you can't find it on the perimeter of the grocery store, it's probably a bit too processed. But in general, I think of it as if you're going to eat animal proteins, you have to look at what the animal ate. So all those foods I mentioned, well, if the animals were fed corn, then they're going to be pro-inflammatory. Fish, which we'll get into in a second, there's a lot of fatty fish that's really good for anti-inflammatory, but you got to get it wild caught because they'll take like salmon, spoiler alert, salmon's a great anti-inflammatory food. But if it's farm raised, they sometimes will feed those fish. I've been told it's something almost like a dog food, which is a corn base. And so now you think you're eating a salmon that's high in omega-3, and instead you're getting that pro-inflammatory omega-6.
We're getting into that territory. Last time when I had you on the show, we talked about cheap versus expensive supplements. You can get a fish oil that is $9.99 for 100 pills. And then you can get one that is $50 for only, 50 pills or something. And there might be, not always, but more often than not, there's a big difference. And like you said, how was the fish raised or caught, and what was it fed?
What type of fish, big heavy difference. Metals, our dietitian at here, she has said before that you don't want to go cheap really on any supplement if you can help it.
Or food or something.
True, she was speaking of supplements, but fish oil specifically, she said, is one you don't want to skimp on, because she has said she has seen clients come to her who have brought products that she said are borderline dangerous that they picked up online, fish oil type supplements. So fish oil is one you really want to be careful of. I would say all supplements.
Couldn't agree more. And not connected to this conversation, but I'll link down below. I have a whole video explaining fish oil. I'll link it in the description below. But okay, so what can we do to fight all these things?
Okay, so then we look at, again, starting at diet, and then if we don't consume enough or we can't consume enough, maybe then we turn to supplements. So if you look at the diets of really long-lived people around the world, it's a lot of these omega-3s. So getting the fish, what are some good sources of fish? Salmon, herring, I believe, mackerel, sardines. Sardines are a great source. Wild-caught sardines, wild-caught salmon. Those are the two biggies that I think of. But then you look at spices. Spices add great value to our meals. It's not just for flavoring. So ginger and turmeric, rosemary.
The big two, yes.
Yeah, rosemary's another good one. There's something called black seed. It's not really a spice, but you're seeing more in like superfood, type stores, health food stores. These are all very anti-inflammatory. So if you can cook with them more, you're going to add value to your meal, and you're going to actually make them anti-inflammatory. So those are some of the green tea. I like coffee, but if I can mix in some green tea, matcha green tea is a specific type where you're consuming the leaf as well as the water extraction, so you're getting a lot more antioxidant. Dark chocolate. So if you're going to eat,
my client's going to love this.
Yeah, no, it's true though. In moderation, everything in moderation, but dark chocolate has some really high antioxidant. Yeah, 70% and greater would be great. So those are some foods, and then of course, if you can't get those regularly, or you can't get them if you have an existing issue, probably not going to get enough from adding some turmeric to your rice. If you're eating brown rice, right? But that's where the supplements come into play. And I would say the same thing. Those are ones where you can get, inferior quality. It's not going to have the effect you're looking for. But, I tell people ginger has over 20 known anti-inflammatory compounds in it. Ginger. And yet it heals the stomach. So it's wonderful spice,
Got it. So I'm going to add to this. You talked about nutrition and supplements, which is still kind of nutrition. Working out, right? So it causes inflammation. You kind of, during the workout, if you go hard, you kind of beat down your body. You beat it up. You're triggering your joints to get inflamed a little bit. It's part of it. But you teach your body in a controlled way to deal with it and recover you from it. Like, for example, why does deadlifting 500 pounds not hurt me? The average person would hurt me not, because over the years I built up and my body learned how to deal with that. So under control, you teach your body to deal with inflammation and all these things. How about stress? How does stress relate to
Oh man, there's a stress hormone called cortisol, which drives blood sugar, which, we didn't get into diabetes being an inflammatory, but also obviously blood sugar. So the damaging effects of that stress response, it's like, even if you think you're handling stress well, like, no, I roll with it, man, I'm golden. The issue is, underneath the surface, again, that's silent. It's like somebody hit a fire alarm or a panic button, and your hormones, there are certain chemicals in your body that are spiking, and that just drives inflammation, and it goes back to that silent inflammation that then drives disease. So learning how to manage stress properly, they say meditation, breathing exercises. Exercise is massive, as you know, in helping that.
Keeps me sane.
Yeah, right. So I mean, stress plays a massive role, and they say that when you look at the fight or flight response, back in the day, tiger jumps out in front of me, I need to either try to fight it to survive or flee.
Yeah.
The body, therefore, has to get instant energy. So it ups your blood sugar. It's like you just ate a donut, let's say. It's going to give you that instant energy. Well, now what happens, I'm in traffic cuts me off, I freak out, I slam on the brakes, but I'm okay. Well, you just ate a donut. So unless you stop your car, run around for 20 minutes to burn that off, it has the same effect. Well, in some ways, it's going to have the same effect as if you just ate a bunch of sugar, which we know is inflammatory.
Yes.
So it's this modern lifestyle that we have, it's like we have to do things to offset it, or we're going to run into these problems.
So we got nutrition.
Yep.
With the help of supplementation, if you're not getting enough of the good stuff or too much of the bad stuff.
Right.
Then we have exercise. Then we have stress control. Anything else?
Sleep.
Thank you. Like I think that's the biggest one out of all of them that we just mentioned.
And one that I struggle with. All cards on the table.
Hey,
it's
you're
not
a business
easy.
owner?
Yeah.
You have kids?
Yeah.
Me too. So I get it. And when somebody's not talking about sleep and just about supplements and this and that, I always say, how about you don't sleep for a night and then tell me how inflammation feels or stress and that. So sleep is one of the biggest one. Half an hour of sleep less than what you should have gotten probably causes already a whole bunch of other side effects in your body, aches, pains, and not adequate recovery.
Yep.
So we got the sleep. Did we cover pretty much, in your opinion, the basics?
I think so. I think if we can just remember that we're constantly surrounded by inflammation, you don't have to feel it to be inflamed, and that's really the important takeaway.
Sometimes feeling it is already almost too late.
Sure. Well, in terms of if it's a disease state, I mean, in terms of, again, don't want to alarm anybody. If you turn your ankle, no, we expect to feel that. That's that controlled campfire.
Yeah.
But you're right. If you're starting to feel, yes. I think that's really the goal is recognizing that inflammation is surrounding us. We need to do something about it. What's in the diet that we need to look out for? What's in the diet that we can add those anti-inflammatory compounds?
And I'll make another bigger step towards the stress. Sometimes it's our physical diet, sometimes it's our mental diet that can cause the stress to inflammation. Screen time and anxiety, you sleep less, and all these things. So we need to control inflammation because inflammation causes disease, kind of period.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike, so much for the conversation. I hope people will get something out of it, get motivated on controlling their diet, mental and physical. Where can people find more about you or your store, which I kind of love because this is more about health and not a quick fix.
Yeah.
This is holistic
thank
approach.
You.
I love this store. Me and my wife always go here. So where can people find you?
Well, we're online. Our website is vchoice.com. So it's the letter V followed by, followed by the word choice.com. So vchoice.com. And up at that site, you can access some of our previous webinars. We've done some webinars, longer form, on inflammation and aging. Our dietitian, Nicole, has done those. You can shop online and do all that kind of thing too. So we try to provide a resource more than just shopping. We want information. That's why I'm so happy you asked me to do this.
Yeah.
And then we're here in North Royalton, Ohio. So if you're in our neck of the woods, please stop by.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.